Hi everyone, just a quick video on my top band 80 meter plus other bands antenna Mark II version. Most of you probably know that the original version of this antenna, which was quarter wave for top band and a roughly half wave for 80 meters, it was about 36.4 meters in length, sort of collapsed in the very strong winds we had a couple of weeks ago. So with the help of G1ZMA, I've erected a Mark II version. The length of the antenna has increased to 58 meters now. That's the electrical length. So it's no longer resonant on 80 or top band at half wave or quarter wave, but that is offset by the fact that there's obviously quite a lot more wire in the air. Whereas previously it used to run across the garden and then would then sort of terminate on the end of the house here via another pole. It now runs over the roof to the front of the house and supported by another pole. And then there's a run. It then runs down the side of the house and into the shack. However, a big difference is that the Mark I version was terminated. The antenna went straight into the shack with a banana plug plugged straight into the wire input banana plug socket on the back of my MFJ 949E ATU, and then it was earthed via a wire from the earthed lug on the back of the ATU back out to my RF earth here. So it's different now, and the way it's different is that it's now terminates via a 9-to-1 unun. So in this weatherproof box is a ferrite core with a triple wound unun, and obviously this is the antenna input here, and then this is the earth. So a short earth lead a couple of feet long to my earth point there, and attached to that earth rod are 25 radials under the grass and another 6 radials that run around the garden, around the side of the house, on both sides up to the front. So and then it then enters the shack, obviously now via a coaxial cable. So that should provide benefits in terms of RF in the shack. At the end of the day, antennas are always a compromise. I mean, you know, well, my experiment is that with more wire in the air, it's really windy this afternoon actually, so it's moving quite a lot more than normal. I've got more wire in the air, and to offset the fact that it's not resonant. The other thing is that if you can see, hopefully you can see the position of the G5RV is the lower antenna, and you can see now that I've actually raised the height of the end-fed wire by about another 3 meters, so it's also 3 meters higher. So there's about 20 meters more wire in the air, and it's 3 meters higher. So that's the plan anyway. At the end of the day, it's an experiment, and I've been in ham radio a relatively short period of time, but long enough to know that whatever you do with antennas, there's always an improvement to be made if you sit around and think about it long enough. So we go in the shack.
Cleared with station at Rippling there. GP Zulu Yankee Charlie, contact Mike November Yankee in Croydon.
So there's our friend in Croydon who occupies this frequency. I think he must be there every afternoon, because always hear him on Wednesdays after the Harwell Amateur Radio Society net. So so here you go. So the end-fed wire is, as usual, connected to the 7300 via the 949E matching unit, and so what's interesting actually is that I checked the bare match, so without any tuning at all. And what's interesting is via this little device here, and what on 80 meters the bare match is about 3-to-1. On 160 meters it's 11. well, at the moment it's 11 point, yeah, about 11 to 1. I'm just going to, so if I put this in, so on 80, it's actually not so bad. I mean, they both match perfectly. So at the moment I'm holding this thing, so that makes, obviously it's going to affect it, but 3.5 to 1 is the bare match on 80. So well within range of the MFJ 949E, and what's interesting, actually, I was surprised that it was that close to a bare match on 80 meters. But what's interesting is that having used it on the Haas Sked Friday night net last Friday, on 80 meters, I did actually get some really good signal reports, very consistent. So if I just read down them, bearing in mind that, you know, 80, when we do the Sked on a Friday, 80 meters is usually always much noisier than top band, continental stations coming in, etc. So my reports were plus 10, plus 10, plus 10, 5 and 7 from MJW, who runs an attenuator, plus 20, plus 10, plus 10, plus 15, plus 10, plus 5, plus 10, plus 10, and 5 and 6 from Hamish G0 GLG up in sort of Buckingham. So, and they're much more consistent on you know, on 80 than previous. But you know, there are so many variables, you know, propagation, etc., you know, moisture, what have you, that I need to test this antenna for longer. On top band, on Friday I was reported at plus 10, 5 and 9, plus 10, 5 and 4 from Mike MJW, runs the attenuator, plus 20, 5 and 9, 4 and 7 from Howard at Christmas Common, plus 30, plus 20, 5 and 8 from Matthew in West Berkshire. So still generally good reports. So it's difficult to kind of ascertain, or, you know, what the improvement is, if any, over my original, my Mark 1 version, which was obviously much shorter, but obviously cut to be resonant on 80 and 160. But overall, the reports are pretty good. And I did the CQWPX SSB contest, the 48-hour contest last weekend. And you can correct me if I've got that nomenclature wrong, but I made 225 contacts basically. My biggest score was 6 points for working a station on 40 meters from the United Arab Emirates station in Abu Dhabi. Also made a couple of Canadian contacts, etc., with this antenna setup. In fact, the Canadians were Victoria Charlie 2W and Victoria Yankee 2 Whiskey Whiskey. So they're the two Canadian stations. So, you know, at the moment it bodes well, but as always, it's, you know, it's an experiment. So tell you what, I know I've said it before, but I do like this since the firmware upgrade. I do like using the multi for the 1 kilohertz tuning. It's really nice.
On 6 for now, and get a report later on when the band's open.
Such good audio on the icon.
So I'd leave it on 5. I mean, there's been the odd occasion when there's been a load of noise and, you know, QSB and conditions aren't very good. All the very best for them in those days, but very good. But not much noise either.
Anyway, you get the idea. It's very good on. It seems very good on receive as well. So you know, I'm happy with it. Much more experimentation and testing over a sort of longer period of time, but for the sake of £5, well, that was the original cost of the Mark 1 version. This version hasn't actually cost me any more, because I already had the project box, actually, the weatherproof box for the unun, and the ferrite for the unun were part of an RF choke that I had made a long time ago. So it was just basically spare parts and bits and pieces that I had sort of lying around. So I didn't actually have to buy anything at all. I had the wire, etc. So, you know, overall, pretty pleased with it. So 58 meters. Now, the reason for 58 meters was that G1ZMA did a bit of research, and it's one of those lengths that isn't close to being resonant on any of the ham bands. There's a few lengths that are sort of recommended as a kind of random wire antenna, and 58 meters was recommended as one of those lengths. It would be possible for me to actually put a longer antenna in. I could probably put an 80-meter wire in. I've got enough space. It would be a more convoluted path, but I've got enough space here to put an 80-meter antenna in, and you know, I might try that at some point. But overall, pretty happy with the performance of this Mark II end-fed wire, and you know, with a bare match of 3 on 80 and 11 on 11 to 1 on top band, you know, without any matching, you know, it's not that bad. It's not brilliant, obviously, but it's not so bad. You know, they're two quite difficult bands to when you've got sort of relatively limited space. So and yeah, as I said, the reports going out aren't too bad. Well, actually, they're pretty good. They're very consistent, on 80 in particular. So, you know, more testing, and if I make any more modifications, I'll upload another video. But for now, thanks for watching.